Hey, friends, welcome back to the Weakest One podcast, where we find the power of Christ in the midst of our vulnerability. My name is Jericho Jones. I am your host, and I'm here with one of my very good friends, Seth Noyes.
Good to be here.
Yeah, thank you for giving up, using your night to join me and hang out and talk about the deep things of life.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we've known each other for around 10, 11 years.
Yeah, somewhere in there. 14, 15.
Yeah. 2014, 2015, we met at a local church in Indianapolis, and I really appreciate you personally because I remember that you essentially taught me what it feels like to have a friend, in a person that cared enough to get upset when you make silly choices. So I appreciate you, and I'm glad you're here.
Yeah, I think friendship is an interesting place because I think for me, right, I often got characterized as being the guy who just made friends with the people my friends were already friends with, right? And so there was this stepping into trying to be friends. And I think pursued you as a friend as well in intentionality in a way that I generally don't.
Mm-hmm. Right on. And look, here we are.
There you go.
Here we are. So why don't you tell the people a little bit about yourself?
So 42, and I came to Christ when I was 24, I think is what it was.
Mm-hmm.
Through a bad breakup, and then really being in a very low place, and God just meeting me right there.
Mm.
Right? There's this aspect of, a crying prayer, and then that answer being explicitly answered.
Mm-hmm.
I remember I couldn't bear sort of the thought of my ex-girlfriend being out of my life, and it was a hard split, right?
Mm-hmm.
In a lot of ways, and I couldn't bear this idea that she wasn't there. We'd been going out for 2.5 years, and our lives were completely intertwined. So all of a sudden, going from having a sort of everyday, constant interaction with a companion to not having that at all, was not it just didn't compute, and that put me in a very low place. And I remember laying in bed one night as I was sort of putting together this Christianity thing and just saying, God, if you're real, I want to be a part of her life. I don't care what that looks like, but I want to be a part of her life. If you make that happen, I'll follow you. I'll figure this thing out.
How'd that go for you?
I woke up the next morning to an email from her. Look, you have to stop. You're always going to be a part of my life, but you won't be all of it. We have to move on from here.
Wow.
Straight up the language I used. And that was okay, well, I guess I have to figure this out. I remember calling Josh and being so there's this thing, so now I have to figure this out, but we'll figure it out. So that was sort of the turning point. I think I ended up in church when my friends was preaching, and he's like, you should come and listen to me, and then I just had no reason to stop going. And been pretty consistent since then. So that doesn't mean it's been easy. There's been ups and downs along the way.
What has transformation been like for you?
Well, so as my friend Rochelle, there were definitely spirits on me when my friend Rochelle met me in college, and in that sort of sense, I was just not a nice person. I wasn't the person people wanted to be around. I wasn't the person people wanted to interact with and so forth, and not because of any particular way or thing, right? It was a spiritual just an off-putting of that, right?
Yeah.
Going from sort of that icky person to not an icky person to being someone that's not just a friend but somebody who feels safe was that sort of transformational experience. And I think I remember when Rochelle and I were living in the same house, she's like, so you're not that person anymore. I feel safe now. Somebody broke into the house, I'd feel safe here because you're here.
Yeah.
Not I don't feel unsafe because you are here. And that transformation, right? That realization, I didn't realize? Like, what changed in me? I'm still the same person, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right? But no, right? And this aspect of like going through this walk of transformation, especially at that time of being made a new creation, like I'm different than I was before.
Yeah.
And that's a reality that sticks with you. Like, and that propelled me to be willing to challenge other aspects and perspectives in my life. Because if I could make that kind of change, what other change can I make?
Wow. That's so dope. So speaking of those other aspects of life, have you ever encountered an aspect of desirable transformation that you essentially felt powerless to really affect? And how did you navigate that? And by powerless, I mean like powerless in your own strength. Like it's not like something that you can just wake up in the morning and choose not to do anymore.
There are probably a couple instances, but I think probably the one that's the easiest to talk about is probably this aspect. I didn't enjoy school.
Mm-hmm.
That was never a big thing for me. I probably because there was a lot of expectation around it, and not because of an inability to do it.
Right.
Obviously, with a 4-year degree, something happened, right?
Yeah.
But I didn't enjoy school. I didn't like this aspect. Like I wasn't a particularly social person. I didn't have a lot of friends, right? So school was a chore.
Yeah.
It wasn't this fun space. And as a result, I just didn't care. And so a lot of words, whether we call them word curses or whatever, right? I was called lazy. I was called a slacker. Or what? All of those words that go along with this aspect that like school is silly.
Yeah.
From that sort of aspect, right? I kind of took on this aspect that I'm just lazy. You don't understand? I'm just lazy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And from that, you just buy into this idea of passivity. You just buy into this idea that like I can just go about my life and do things, right?
Yeah.
From there, you end up in a place where maybe I have opinions, but maybe I don't share them. Maybe I'm not authentic because I don't like. I'm just lazy. I don't want to do it, right? What do you want to do for dinner? I don't care. but I do care.
Yeah, but right? You don't share it.
But I don't share it. When you've lived life for 30 years under this perspective of being passive about everything, about being lazy, about being a slacker, about that being an identity you've taken on, to then be told that's not truth. Like, that's not actually who you are, right? You're much more aggressive about things. You're much more passionate about things. You're much more active than you want to be. Like, than you're communicating, than you're being. Like, stop leaning on this aspect of passivity and laziness as an excuse for the reality that you just aren't being authentic. And maybe that sounds a lot easier than anything else, but like, there's no control there. How do you do it differently? How do you step into a place? How can you go like, wait a minute, I can be active here. How does that work? How can I be the leader here? Like, what does that mean, right? And
how did it feel to be told that? Like you have this set perspective for yourself.
Unreal, right? It wasn't real. Like it wasn't the perspective I had. I was married by this point, right? So like we made it a long way down the chain of Seth being able to just like, I'm just coasting, man. It's fine, right? To be in this situation, like there's no option here. How do you take control, right? How do you do anything in this space? Like, I had a good career already. I had all the things. Like, I'm doing fine, aren't I?
Yeah.
Right. That was really hard.
Yeah.
And it's not something. It's not a I can choose to do better. I can do these things. Like it's just your mindset has to shift. Like the world needs to shift in what that looks like. And those things happen faster than what you might expect, right? It wasn't overnight by any stretch, let's be fair. Yeah. But like the things changed, right?
And by the things, you mean like the choices that you
choices made? And the interactions. I think the best way probably to describe that is a situation. So Alicia's had sort of medical things up and down over the years, and certainly from the very beginning of our marriage, right?
Yep.
From there, right? There's an aspect of like letting people be people, and so she owns her own path in that space, right?
Right.
But there's a really big component to being a husband, of being a leader in that space. And I would say in the early parts of our marriage, she was sick. I had no idea what to do. And so I just disengaged from that conversation. Right? Maybe I was there to talk about things, but I wasn't leading. I wasn't a confidant, right? I wasn't the person that she leaned on for those things. I wasn't helping her figure out the next steps. I wasn't doing any of those things, right? And so going from that space to, fast forwarding with her digestive issues a few years ago, in that space, friends called me out on doing that same sort of thing.
Yeah.
Right? Seth, you're not leading, you're not doing these things. And the reality of it, when we sat back and looked at it, and I got really angry about that because again, we had this transformation, we had this change, right? And I felt like I was being a lot more active, a lot more engaged. And I had a few phone calls over the course of the day, my drive home, like, hey, why aren't you doing these things? Why aren't you stepping up? Why aren't you having these conversations? Like, I am, but it's still on. But at the end of the day, Alicia still owns her responsibility to go do the thing.
Yeah.
Right? Being a leader and owning the responsibility are not the same thing.
Right.
And so I came home and so I said, look, I've had these conversations with people all day today about this. How do you feel? And her response was, you're always there. I feel completely supported. Right? And that's the transformation, right? That's that check of, okay. Oh, okay. Like it's not the same as it was. Maybe people outside see me going, well, that's really Alicia's choice to make that to take that step and go, well, Seth, you're not leading, you're not telling, like, I'm not here to tell her what to do.
Yeah.
I'm here to partner her with what things she wants to go do.
Yeah.
Right? So we can lead, we can have a conversation. I can say, hey, have you thought about this? Have we gone this path? But that's what leadership looks like. And I think I remember from, speaking of leadership, I remember from a young adults ministry we were part of in Florida. And I think it's Sanctus Real has a song about leadership. And so there was a preamble to the song. He talks about it, and the lead singer talked about this aspect of like leadership isn't about telling people what to do. It's being willing to start the conversation.
Right. Wow.
And I think that's super powerful for what leadership, for what being active and not passive looks like. Like, I don't need to tell, like, you can be super passive in telling people what to do.
Right.
But being active, being a part of it means I'm going to step into this space. It might be hard. It might not be the conversation I want to have. It may be me who has to take responsibility and me that says sorry, whatever that looks like.
And engaging with your full self.
Engaging, right? Being a participant in the situation and starting the conversation. I don't own the conversation. I don't, like, who knows what the sort of pieces of that conversation will look like. But being willing to start it, being willing to be real in that. Right? I think that's where sort of this non-passivity aspect looks like.
Right on. I'm listening to you, and I'm listening because I know you pretty well, and I'm listening to you as if I've never met you before. And one of the questions that like immediately comes to mind is like, what is the difference between being present in leading?
Ooh, that's a good question. So I think emotional presence is important, right? And let's go with people are often physically present and not emotionally present. So we'll assume that your definition of presence is not about actually being somewhere, but more about this aspect of like engaging in the moment of something.
Yeah.
So being engaged in that moment is connection.
Okay.
Leadership is about pursuing things together, pursuing that aspect. Like I pursue my wife because I want to get to know her better and I want to have a real connection, right?
Right.
I can't do one or the other of those things, right? If I'm not emotionally present, what does it matter whether I'm engaging in the conversation?
Yeah.
Right. Then it's, the offhand comment like, oh, how are you doing today? Well, fine. Well, I'm fine. Like
the end.
Whatever.
Yeah. It means nothing.
Nothing happened there. Right. But let's be connected. And I think that's probably where a lot of people get the missed opportunities, right? Connection doesn't take a lot. Being emotionally present doesn't take a lot. Leading doesn't take a lot.
What do you mean by doesn't take a lot?
It doesn't take a lot. Connection doesn't have to be, oh, we had a deep conversation. Connection just needs to be two people being real together. Right? I think of sort of the apostolic gifting, right? And this aspect of bringing heaven to earth.
Yeah.
Right? That could be momentary, right? That doesn't take a lot. Impartation of healing doesn't take a millisecond, microsecond. What is time to God, right?
Yeah.
Why does connection need to be something more than that? Not that it shouldn't be. I'm not arguing for that. I'm just saying it doesn't take all of the mechanics we try to trap around it, right? It doesn't take a romantic dinner. It doesn't take set apart time. It doesn't take no kids. I love that our marriage counselor, because we sucked at talking, right? Our marriage counselor said, the way that her and her husband did it was very simple. Like when they both got home, as soon as they both got home, they had their time, and they taught their kids, this is the time mommy and daddy connect, and we're going to set apart this time for that connection. And you may not get your needs met in that time. You may be told, you need to go to your room. You need to go sit down. You need to go do that. We'll find you when we're done. That may happen, but we're going to take this time and we're going to connect after our days so that we can then do the parenting thing together. Great. If it takes that type of intentionality, great. Whatever, right? But you don't have to have that kind of structure. Build the structure that works.
Yeah.
But connection doesn't take a lot. Just be real. Two people being real together, a couple of minutes, you'll be fine.
That's so interesting because there are so many sources in society today that says you have to be grandiose and consistent with being grandiose in order to build deep relationships. And what I'm hearing you say is that it just takes the time that you have of being authentic with the other person to build the type of connection that will take you throughout your life together.
Right. That is certainly my perspective.
That takes a load of pressure off.
Why does it have to be complicated? Right? Why do we create these structures?
Why do we complicate grace?
Right. I think it's even society wants to tell you, right, about quality time or whatever that looks like, or spending money on each other. That's not what it takes. What do you think your wife wants more? Does she want 5 minutes of you being real, or does she want another diamond ring?
Wow.
So which one do you choose? Yeah, I mean, I had a boss in my internship, and I literally worked on a military base as an intern, and so it was always it was a 30-minute drive from anywhere else to get onto the base, and I had access 24/7, right? Because I was mostly working on my own. I worked with some people here and there, but I could be there at 6 a.m., 3 a.m., 2 a.m. Nobody cared.
Mm-hmm.
As long as I got my work done and I was making progress, like my time, however much I wanted to put or not put or whatever. I don't remember a time when I was at work and he wasn't. Literally, I went in at random times. I'd go in at 10, I'd come home at 8. Like, he was always there. And I stopped him one day and I said, "You're like always here." And he's like, "Oh yeah, I mean the overtime benefits are great." Okay, but you're always here. Yeah, well, my wife and kids have a great house that they live in. Like,
so they don't have you though.
You're not there.
They don't have you though.
So, that's certainly not what I want. Like, let's be present. Let's be real. And if that's 5 minutes of real, hey, it's 5 minutes of real. Which would you rather have?
And that's something to step into. Like, there is this motif of like where we feel obligated to push ourselves to the brink of ourselves in order to fulfill this obligation of providing this house or this standard of living. Like, and this is across the spectrum. Like,
yeah,
fathers do it and mothers do it. Like,
yeah.
we push ourselves to the wire.
Yep.
What would you say to that? Like, is it worth it? Is there value to that, or is it worth it?
I probably don't have a great answer to that, and
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you why. So, I've never been in the alternative mindset, right? I've never had to worry about that.
Interesting.
Right? I don't have any construct. I can't talk intelligently about that, right? I can say that for me, money is infinite.
Mm-hmm.
I'll always have more money. That's probably not a great plan. That's probably why I've had financial problems. Like, let's be clear, right? That's not. Please don't take away that we should just not care about money. But society does work on that. But it's where my next meal was coming from. That was never a question. How I was going to make rent next month was never a question. Like, I just assumed. And even when I didn't have the money, like, that wasn't a low point. Because I had grandparents, I had family, that I couldn't make my water bill this month. They paid it. Mm-hmm. I always had that safety net. Mm-hmm. And so some ways I didn't have to grow up, but some ways I don't have a context to argue that. I will say there's wisdom in being smart about how you're spending and how you're providing. And I would also say that Jesus isn't calling us to strive.
Yeah.
And like, there are probably things that I'd like to have with more money. Mm-hmm. Certainly in this day and age in my career, and AI being what it is, there are plenty of places to spend money on AI. But that's not where I'm spending my money. Right. So, but I don't feel like I strive at work. So it's an interesting question.
Yeah, it sounds like, that based upon the context of someone's life, the live and grind mindset may be embedded in some kind of like survival mindset. Like, they've always had to do that to survive. Right. But I remember talking to you about, like, there's surviving and then there's living.
Yeah.
And striving creates this illusion where, like, because you're constantly active, you feel like you're living, but you're enjoying nothing.
Right.
You're not enjoying your life. You're not enjoying the people around you. You're not finding life in anything that you're doing. You're just throwing actions out there, trying to make something that you're not going to enjoy at the end anyway.
I would agree. I think there's a lot of why. What's the return on that investment? Right? Mm-hmm. I think one of the sort of meta conversations right now is the one resource you can never get more of is time. Right? I can make more money. I can buy more property. I can do whatever, right? But at the end of the day, the only thing but I can't buy more time.
Mm-hmm.
God knows how much time I have, and there's no changing it.
Yeah.
The end, right? In the construct of today, right? That's doom scrolling and the attention grabbing machine learning systems out there are designed to take your time. Because time equals dollars. You'll spend more money on their platform if you spend more time on their platform.
Right.
And so they're trying to suck your time away. That's, if you get into this productivity cycle of like, I'm always doing things to be more productive, to be able to do more things, to be more productive, then you're just giving up time for what? Right? And I think that goes back again to the same conversation. Would your wife prefer 5 more minutes with you being real, or a diamond ring that you procured with your time?
Yeah.
Which of those times do you want to give? Which one of those times do you want to receive? Which one of those times does she want to receive? Right? That's a question.
Yeah. In the context of relationship, time implies, like, spending real time implies intimacy.
Sure.
What do you do when that intimacy has been broken? Like, what does it look like to regain trust? Like, because like connection implies, like, the pursuit of building connection in a fresh way implies that there was a disconnection before. So like there's this bridge between like seasons of relationship where like we were here, we want to be there. How? What does that look like?
So in my experience, that looks like vulnerability. Just straight up. Trust is an interesting construct, and connection is an interesting construct in that. Realness and vulnerability are not necessarily the same thing, but they kind of go together in a lot of ways, right? So I would assert to you that truly being vulnerable with people is the way to rebuild that trust.
Mm-hmm.
Especially in the construct of setting down your expectation of vulnerability in return.
Yeah.
Like, I can be real with you even if you're not being real with me, because it's my responsibility to be real with you, not to hold you accountable to be real with me.
Interesting.
Right?
So it's like, it's my job to be vulnerable,
right.
Period.
Right.
Like, I don't have to control your vulnerability as if me being vulnerable entitles me to your vulnerability.
Exactly. This isn't one of the, I haven't talked about it in a long time, but this aspect that like friendships are never equal. Right? I'm never on an equal partnership or peer with any friend. Right? That's not a reality. There's some place where I have needs, and some place they have needs, and some place where I'm mature, and some place where they're not mature. Like there's no equal footing here. I think back to a house we all lived in for a while.
And by we all lived in, like, we live in a group of friends that like we're really close knit. And so Seth was talking about some years back,
many years ago. But I just filled out that paperwork. What was that? 2009. Yeah. I had helped. I often like helping people with projects around the house and so forth. And so I'd helped my friends move houses, and they'd had holes in walls and things that need patching and painting and vacuuming and baseboards being cleaned and all of the things you need to do when you move out of a place, right? And or move into a place or all of those things. And so I was moving out of the house. We were downsizing. We didn't need that size house anymore, and so we were moving out. And it was a rental, so I was cleaning up the random painted walls or the holes from dartboards or whatever other sort of things had happened, right? And I'm sitting there at midnight and I'm by myself doing this, right? And like going, I helped everybody else. Why aren't they helping me? And then, So I was complaining to God because, that's what we should do. And his response is, what's going? Hey, you didn't ask for help. You just expected it.
Mm.
Ooh,
Wow,
that hits, right? But the second one that was certainly more profound to me in that sort of state was this aspect that, like, they help you in the areas you need help in much more than you help them in the areas they need help in.
Wow.
Right. And I was going through things at that time. I was, having, conversations with people and working on myself, doing all the sort of millennial things, right, in the Christian walk. And those were hard conversations I was having. I was being real and I was opening up and I was being vulnerable in those areas and growing and transforming, to use the callback, right?
Yeah.
In those moments, but I could paint a wall. I don't need help painting. Sure, I want it because I want camaraderie and friendship and sure, but I don't need help to do that. I can be at midnight painting a wall, especially in my 30s. It's a different world, right?
Yeah.
Or my 20s, even actually at that point, right? I can be in my 20s and I can be painting a wall at midnight and still, go to bed at 1 and get up at 8 to go to work. Like, that's not a big deal. I can do that. But you know what I couldn't do? I couldn't help myself heal. I needed help there. That was the area I was getting help in. So what if they didn't come and paint a wall? Right? That's vulnerability. That's relationship. That's being real. Understanding that the other person isn't there to equal what you're giving out. They're bringing what they're bringing. You're bringing what you're bringing. And maybe we're on the same maturity level. Maybe we're not. Maybe in one area we are, in another area we're not. And I'm healing here. You're helping, healing there. I'm helping you heal there. But there's no reciprocity here. And dropping that expectation of reciprocity, I think, is when you get into some real places. Like, I can be vulnerable because I want to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
Not because I need you to be vulnerable, not because I'm expecting you to be vulnerable, not because I'm expecting you to heal me, not because of any of those things, but just this aspect of, like, I can be vulnerable and real.
So I'm listening to everything you're saying, and I agree with you. I'm also listening from the frame of mind for someone who's like, well, what about when Paul says not to be unequally yoked? Like, what is... So how would you respond to that type of criticism?
He's really talking about following Christ versus not.
Right.
Right? That's what that construct is about?
Yes.
Like two like a married couple, one following Christ and one not?
Mm-hmm.
Right. Okay. So
it's often cross-applied, though.
It's often cross-applied?
Yeah.
What does serving people look like? Right. I would argue, I was reading Equal by
Kathy
Adams, and she made a comment that we often use the epistles to define the gospels. Like we go, oh, Jesus did this flowery thing in the Gospels, and then we go to Paul to be like, here's the actual theology. Like, but isn't that kind of backwards? Like,
it's very backwards.
Jesus is the theology, and Paul's just writing some words out, right?
Yeah.
So let's flip that, right? A little bit. Okay, we shouldn't be unequally yoked. Great. I'm really happy that my wife is a Christian. Let's be fair, right?
Yeah.
I'm really happy that the majority of my friend group are Christians too. But I'll tell two stories. One,
love stories.
Yeah,
stories are great.
So one, I have a friend at work.
Yep.
I won't say his name here, but
yep.
I have a friend at work. He and I are good friends. We had a connection. We hit it off right as soon as he started. Literally in the interview, we became friends. He is for sure, absolutely an atheist. There is no there are no inroads. Like
Yeah.
if there was a way for me to bring up Christianity in a way that didn't just get mocking in return, I do it, and I am constant in it. Even in my charismania, I bear it all. But he is absolutely an atheist. There's no doubt. I spent a long time thinking of this idea of being transparent but not vulnerable, right? With him.
Please unpack that for us.
So this aspect, like, I don't need to hide who I am. I can just choose not to be vulnerable in that space. Like, he can say words and whatever. Like, I'm going through this tough thing. Oh, this is what you should do. No, that's not Christian. I'm not doing that. Like,
I'm not doing it that way. No thanks.
I'm going to trust my friends. I'm going to not. No.
Yeah.
The result, though, was I had a very skewed perspective of how that friendship worked. And still today, I think if I was in a situation and I was, near where he lived, whatever, and like my car broke down or something, and I have his phone number outside of work, and I called him up and said, hey, can you come give me a ride? Like, my car broke down, whatever. Like, he'd pack his kids up and drive and give me a ride, right? Without question, right? He would just do it. However, right, he went on vacation one time, and when he came back, when we were still on the same team, and we walked around the building a couple times because we have a half-mile loop around the building. We walked around the building a couple times, and I talked about stuff and stuff. And we got done with our couple laps, and we had to go back in for a meeting. And he made the comment to me, Seth, I'd been gone for 2 weeks on a vacation, and he went somewhere fun, Bahamas or Costa Rica or, New Orleans or whatever, right?
Yeah.
I don't remember exactly what it was. It's not germane. But he's like, and whole mile of walking around, you talked about you and you talked about work. And at no point did you actually connect and talk to me about how I was doing or how the vacation was or what my life was actually about. He's like, I'm okay with that. Like, I don't need that from you, but I want you to be aware. Right?
Wow.
That's transparent, but not vulnerable, right? Where was the realness in that, right? So I've tried to be more vulnerable with him since then. Still, obviously, when he says, "Oh, you should do this thing," that's like, no, that's definitely not it.
That is not of the Lord.
That's definitely not it. I still check, but at the end of the day, like, that's that's what not vulnerability looks like, right? Is this aspect of, like, I wasn't actually looking for connection, right? I think the other aspect to unequally yoked really goes back to serving people. I read a study very shortly after my daughter was born, where it talked about gifted students who I was. So I was part of their statistic because it was of that era where I was in there, and it talked about the fact that gifted kids who were given really strict rules, clean your room, you'll do your homework, you'll do these things, were very successful in their careers, but not game changers, right? They followed the rules.
Yeah.
They were, and in some cases, extremely successful. Like, no knock to that, right? But they weren't game changers. They didn't think outside the box because they had been constrained by boxes their entire life. And I certainly know it from my friends in gifted programs and so forth, right? Once kids were identified that way, like, their parents changed the way they behaved with them. They were stricter. They were you have to be successful.
Wow.
But under that construct, right, you're setting up a sort of direction and a line. And the piece that came, the sort of topic was the kids who were given an ethos, but not rules, were game changers. They were more independent. They thought outside the box. They did all of these things. They revolutionized their industries, right? I think, wow, That's the thing. That's what I want for my daughter. I don't want sort of rules and structure, right? I want something different. And from that, we, being Christian, we said we help people.
Yeah.
And so we taught her that. We help people. Hey, we need to go do this thing. You need to get in the car, even though you're playing a game and you'd rather be here. Like, you're going to get in the car, we're going to go help this person because we help people. Mm-hmm. Daddy's not going to be home because he's going to have a conversation because we help people. Mm-hmm. You're going to apologize to your friend because what you did wasn't okay and wasn't helping them, and we help people. Right? And we latched onto that, and still today, like she'll say, like, what are we supposed to do? We're supposed to help people. And so let's latch onto this aspect. So serve people, help people, right? Mm-hmm. How do you help people if you don't connect with them?
Yeah,
not real?
How do you help somebody that you're trying to protect yourself from?
Right.
And I think that in Christian culture, we get into this thing where, like, we want to minister to the world, but we don't want to let them in.
Right. Because
they're dangerous.
Right.
And in a respect, like things of the world, secularism, things that are outside of the kingdom of God, can pose risk, so to speak. But there's a lot of, I think the overcautiousness and the prudence really assumes that Christians don't know who they are in the first place.
Absolutely.
I feel like if we're so dead set on protecting ourselves that it has to be assumed that we're not confident in who God made us to be at this point. And I think that there's a level of confidence, but there's also a lot of like fear, like as if that confidence in the Lord is fragile and the right person can just shatter it into pieces.
Yeah. I was listening to a song the other day. I think it's from like 2012 or whatever. Like, it's an old song, but it has the lyric in it, "My God is good, but he isn't safe." Mm-hmm. Like, why does Christianity think it's safe? Mm-hmm. Why do we prize safety in Christianity? Mm-hmm. Right? Jesus helped people.
He helped people. He had people who didn't believe in him.
Yeah.
Who couldn't see him.
I mean, Centurion's a good one. Mm-hmm. Maybe the Centurion was a Christian. Centurion wasn't a Jew.
He was God-fearing. What does God-fearing mean?
Exactly. Like, great.
He may have feared Yahweh. Did he also worship other Roman gods? Yeah, we don't know. We don't know.
No. But he's a centurion, so he certainly played a part. Mm-hmm. So it's interesting. But yeah, let's let God talk about that, or let's let Jesus talk about that. Not necessarily Paul.
Yeah.
We help people.
Yeah. So. Yeah, man. I think we're in a place in history where inner healing and growing maturity and transformation has to include a level of trust in resources outside of oneself. A lot of what you said implies community, connection, and friendships. I don't think I heard you say once that, like, only one point, but like, I think 90% of what you said of how you transformed was how other people, God used other people to speak into your life.
Yeah. So maybe let's be a little clearer, right? I think we started living in intentional Christian community in what, 2006. So I mean, that's the year I came to Christ. Like we're all inside that same sort of time box here. I don't have a sort of a construct of not sort of living in a community aspect mindset about how that fits together. So I don't even know that I have words. Like, I don't know that I have words for what it would be like to try Christianity alone.
I think that's a very profound position of life to come from, because from the way that I've read the Bible, Christianity is designed for community, to be experienced at an individual level, but to be exercised in community and be formed through community. So I think a lot of Christians, non-Christians, even people watching this pod, come from experiences where like they were taught that like it is like you go to church, gather, worship on Sunday, and then the rest of the week it's really you and Jesus in the world. You and Jesus versus the world. You got to brave through until you can get to that next Sunday morning where you can fuel up again and go out into the world, fight your battles, come back around. Rather, what you're testifying to is like you go worship with believers on Sunday, and then throughout the week you're continuously encountering God as you encounter God in relationship with other people.
Yeah. I mean, how do you help people and let people help you if you're not connected to people?
Mm-hmm.
Right? There's a reality there that's inescapable. Like I can't no triviality, right? I can't really imagine a world where I had to navigate this on my own.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That doesn't feel safe. Right? Safety is in that construct, and certainly the culture Jesus would have been raised in, right, would have been that.
Yeah.
Right? It would have been multi-generational houses in a place where all of the people were together.
Yeah.
Right? It would have been this 5 families that were under this rabbi, right, in this line of houses for 3 generations. Like that's how it would have been. So, you know, the kids would have played together forever. Right? They would have just always known, like that group of people would have like it would have just existed.
Mm-hmm.
So from that culture and that context, you can't extrapolate beyond that.
Yeah.
You have to be in that space.
Yeah. Yeah. So as we close up, are there any like closing thoughts that you have for the people? Like just what do you want to give from your heart?
Well, I think you and I talked about this aspect of life happening to us versus not, right? There's something profound there. I see a lot of people, whether you label it victim mentality or other things, right? This aspect that people often feel like life happens to us.
Let's unpack that a little bit.
Right? As a person who's like, traffic today sucked, like, and I just can't get past it because, you know, it interrupted my ability to get home. Like, it took me an hour instead of 35 minutes to get home today, and that's thrown off my whole day, or it happens in the morning, it throws off your whole day, right? You kind of let life happen to you. Or, you know, this aspect of like, my bills didn't get paid, or, you know, so all of these things, life just kind of happened, right? I mean, you went into credit card debt because you were buying food or whatever that looks like. No negativity. I'm not implying that, but this aspect of like, we're just being passive, not making choices, not seeking wisdom, right? And out of that, things happen. I think the sobering statistic is some huge percentage of Americans can't handle $1,000 car repair.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's terrifying, right? Again, money's probably not the place to talk about for me, but like this aspect, that's hard. It's a hard place to be, to have a perspective that like $1,000 random bill could be catastrophic to most Americans in the wealthiest country in the world by all measures, right?
Yeah.
So how do we deal with that, right? What does that look like? Well, maybe it's because we're being passive.
Mm-hmm.
And I think by and large, America drives passivity, right? Instant gratification is passive.
Yeah.
Right? Because if I don't have to save, if I don't have to work, not strive, but if I don't have to work for it, if I don't have to walk this path,
like participate,
right? Engage in it, then I'm being passive.
Yeah.
And life just happens to us. Like life just comes at us sideways. And life is really good. The devil is really good at making life come at you sideways. Mm-hmm. And maybe that is a car being repossessed, or maybe that is a $1,000 car bill, or maybe that is, any number of things. Kid getting kicked out of school, whatever that looks like, right? Life just happens to us. Mm-hmm. Breakup out of the blue, whatever that is, right? Maybe it's really not all out of the blue, right?
Yeah.
We have to be active.
Yeah.
Does that mean we take control of everything? Well, of course not. Right? My wife and I talk a lot about balance. Mm-hmm. Right? There's a balance perspective in a lot of things, right? There's food that's healthy, and there's food that's not healthy, and there's, anywhere in between that. Let's be balanced. Our bodies are pretty good at processing. I'm going to use the word toxins for the sake of the conversation, but
for sure.
But our bodies are pretty good at handling that in moderation. It's fine. It's just like alcohol. Drinking moderately for your whole life is not going to cause any liver problem. Drinking heavily consistently is probably going to cause some liver problems.
Absolutely.
Right? So our bodies are pretty good at handling the moderate. They're really bad at handling the imbalance. Mm-hmm. So how can we sort of seek balance in our things? So I'm not saying be active in the sense of like, I have to control every step of every part of my day.
That's perfectionism.
Right? I don't need that. But don't be in a position where life happens to you. Like, don't be in a position where that's... So, like, make wise choices about how you choose to put things together, how you choose to spend money, how you choose to spend time, right? It's a lot easier when you're facing it head on, right? And that's that aspect. If I want to go do something, go do it, right? I think this perspective for me stems from I took the Connected Child conference. Some of our friends suggested it. And from that, we went to, they talked about the 4 pillars of healthy relationship, right?
Yeah.
It's like giving and receiving care is 1 and 2. And then so identity, right? Maintaining your autonomy, your identity. Like I am the same person in the relationship as I am outside of it, right? And then, what's the 4th one? Needs negotiation,
wow.
Right?
Yeah.
I can negotiate my needs, right? Giving and receiving care is an interesting one, right? But this idea of negotiating needs, and really, and a lot of people misread this, I think, in the construct. They say, well, I'm going to tell you, I need you to spend time with me. That's not a negotiation. That's an ultimatum.
Yeah.
Right? I want to spend time together is a communication of a need. And then it's on you to say, this is the time I have, right? And I think learning to do that with my mother specifically was a hard one. Like,
yeah.
I'll be honest, right? This aspect of like, there's a lot of where we feel obligation, we struggle to do this.
Right.
Right? If somebody you feel obliged to help says, hey, I need this thing, it's a drop everything and go do it, right?
Yeah.
That's letting life happen to you.
Right.
Right? Oh, I see that I feel obliged, but I don't have to do that now. My mother, no negativity, has a little bit of a disconnect between things that are emergent, things that are urgent, and things that are desires.
Yeah.
And so she'll call me and say, Seth, I want you to come over right now. I need you to come do this thing. Like, well, what is it you need me to come do? Oh, I can't start an app on my phone. Like, I'll see you next week.
I'll see you next week.
Right? That's a negotiation. No, I see what you're saying. Right? But that is not an urgent or emergent need.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That isn't something, when she calls and says, hey, our internet is out, and since I support all of their internet equipment, their internet being out's a thing. Like, and I know for me, if my internet was out, I would be pulling my hair out. So that, in my opinion, requires some urgency to go resolve.
Yeah.
Right. If they called me up and said, "Hey, our house is flooding. We don't know how to shut off the water," I would fly over there to go solve that problem because that's emergent, right? But if it's not emergent, it's not urgent. Like, I'm not obliged to answer that situation. I care about my mother. I want to meet her needs, but this is a negotiation.
Right.
It's not, you don't get to make an ultimatum on my time. And similarly, I don't get to call her and say, you will come over today. Like, or you will babysit today. Like, no, it's a negotiation. Can you babysit today? Right?
Mm-hmm.
She gets agency in that just as much as I do. Right?
It sounds like what I'm hearing is a transition from passivity to being a powerful person.
Right. Agency is, I guess, the meta word today.
Agency is the meta word.
Yeah. Right? I am the sort of central character of my story, right?
Mm-hmm.
If that's true, then I have agency and I can make decisions. And life doesn't have to happen to me. I can be active and I can make those choices. Mm-hmm. Right? As we talked about earlier, I can start the conversation.
Right.
Man, that conversation may suck. Man, I may get hurt. Man, I might not get what I want.
Mm-hmm.
I may even not get my needs met in the way that I want them to be met.
Mm.
But you know what? I had the conversation.
I got in there.
Right? Maybe it didn't happen the way I wanted it to. Maybe it didn't meet my expectations, but I didn't just go, well, I hope my need gets met today. And, oh, it didn't. Like, now I'm mad at the world. Like,
yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
But no.
Yeah.
I'd rather have said, hey, I want this thing, and then, oh, that thing didn't happen. Like,
yeah.
Shoot, at least I said something. At least I put it out there.
Yeah. And it's the power of Christ that really gives you the grace to take courage in those situations, because it is scary to step into those spaces where you really don't know if putting yourself out there and into the fray is really going to yield what you're looking for. But is it worth it anyway?
Always.
I
think there's a space here, right? And maybe, certainly Christianity is certainly a passion for me, right?
Yeah.
Maybe I haven't communicated maybe in all the ways here, but obviously it certainly is.
Yes.
By the way we live, but
Seth loves Jesus, y'all. just so you know, in case you're guessing, Seth loves Jesus.
Amen. I think when I look at those stories and I look at those places, right? Being real, being connected, putting yourself out there, right? Jesus having the conversation in the Garden of Gethsemane, right? This aspect, like, if it's your will, Lord, like, we're gonna do it, but I don't want to do it. Like,
it's like, well,
and I'm gonna pray to the point of bleeding, right? Because I'm gonna go fervently and passionately do that. There's that. I mean, that's active, right? Jesus spoke his need very much. God was pretty clear. Nope.
Yeah.
This is what has to happen.
Yeah.
Does that mean that Does that mean it wasn't a healthy relationship? We know, like, it's the definition of a healthy relationship, right? Jesus put his need out, and it wasn't.
Wow.
Right?
And that I've never heard that before. I've never heard you say that before. Like, that only justified and certified how strong the relationship between the Son and the Father was.
Yes.
That Jesus presented a need. The Father said no. And Jesus continued to partner in faithfulness.
Right.
That's powerful, dude.
Yeah, exactly. So.
Oh man, well, I think that's a mic drop to end the pod on. Seth, thank you so much for being here and just sharing what God has put on your heart, put through your life, for the people and for me and for our community. And I know that God is faithful in whatever He will do with this and do in your own life. And I'm excited to see what comes about. So thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate you. And I appreciate you all. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of the Weakest One podcast. We'll see you next time.